What is labor relation? Labor relations is a field of study that can have different meanings depending on the context in which it is used. In an international context, it is a subfield of labor history that studies the human relations with regard to work in its broadest sense and how this connects to questions of social inequality. It explicitly encompasses unregulated, historical, and non-Western forms of labor. Here, labor relations define for with whom one works and under what rules. These rules, implicit or explicit, written or unwritten, determine the type of work, type and amount of remuneration, working hours, degrees of physical and psychological strain, as well as the degree of freedom and autonomy associated with the work. Vancouver labor temple during the general strike in 1918. More specifically, in an American historically modern context, labor relations is the study and practice of managing unionized employment situations. In academia, labor relations is frequently a sub-area within industrial relations. Taught scholars from many disciplines, including economics, sociology, history, law, and political science, also study labor unions and labor movement. In practice, labor relations is frequently a sub-area within human resource management. Courses in labor relations typically cover labor history, labor law, union organizing, bargaining, contract administration, and important contemporary topics. In the United States, labor relations in the private sector is regulated by the National Labor Relations Act. Public sector labor relations is regulated by the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978 and various pieces of state legislation. In other countries, labor relations might be regulated by law or tradition. An important professional association for U.S. labor relations scholars and practitioners is the Labor and Employment Relations Association. Unions are a significant aspect of labor relations and provide job security to workers and ensure all employees are well compensated for labor. Union negotiators offer high-level pay in exchange for workers to tolerate repetitive job design or unsafe working conditions. Unions are critical in providing security and insurance to employees that their job position will remain unaffected and always compensated for their work. Some of the union's main objectives are job security, suitable compensation for labor, job design, retraining and reskilling, and health and safety. No matter how strong the union is, there is often a mismatch between critical company decision-making and the union representatives' demands. However, to provide proper job security and suitable compensation for employees, agreements must be made between union representatives and employers. Unions have a positive impact and benefits and total compensation in Canada when compared with non-unionized work environments. Results from the Canadian General Social Survey or GSS in 1998 demonstrate that union work environments increase total compensation by 12.4% and 10.4% by wage. In terms of total compensation, the empirical data suggests that unions have achieved large fringe benefits for their members in comparison to non-union, as for which non-union differentials were found to vary across the Canadian labour market. Previous studies on unions' impact on Canadian wage through the use of the GSS indicated that the union-non-union differential was 18%. However, a more recent study indicates that the differential is 10.4%. This tackling of differential indicates an increase of competitive pressure.
Perspective on labor relations. Injury perspective. In a injury perspective, there is a emphasis on employees sharing common object and being harmonious with another. This perspective view strikes as pathological. Labor relations in which trade unions are influenced are viewed negatively and labeled unscary. With this perspective, there are alternative positions held upon matters such as trade unions. Some view labor relations with unions as an extension to the relationship that exists between manager and employees in regard to communication. Pluralism perspective. In the pluralism perspective, it is a step that conflict with arise between employees and organization, as there will be different opinions in some situation. In order to deal with the conflict that may arise between those in a labor relationship, trade unions are used. Managers view trade unions as an invention but respect the authority of them. Collective bargaining. Collective bargaining press conference. Collective bargaining is a vital part of labor relations. It is essential to labor relations because it sets the tone for a fair and equal workplace, which form the basis from coordinate labor relations. Collective bargaining is used to ensure all workers are represented equally and fairly. When collective bargaining is experienced within organization, it is to address working conditions, terms of employment, and work relations. These negotiations take place between the employer and the union with the intent of coming to a collective agreement. Negotiation can end in either a strike by workers, a lockout by employers, a boycott, or the empirical an agreement. Although collective bargaining can be seen as simple social distinction, it is more substantive than that. It is a fundamental and principal right at work. Collective bargaining also produces a sense of equality and equity, and it gives the workers the ability to practice in building a fair and legal work environment. Equality in collective bargaining. Collective bargaining can be tracked back to the Industrial Revolution in 18th 19th century. During this time, many jobs were lost to the ability of machine taking over. Because of this, people start to form organizations to protect their job income. Thus bring out unions and in turn collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is right for workers and can bring about many benefits, including limiting base and equity gap. Thus, assuring all workers are fair. Collective bargaining has been proven to lower the wage gap and establishing more equality in workers and wages. Internationally, countries that use collective bargaining have lower wage inequality, such as Denmark, Finland, France, the Netherlands, and Sweden. And countries who use collective bargaining less have higher wage inequality, like Hungary and Poland. Collective bargaining has also played a role in shrinking the gender pay gap. Although collective bargaining has helped the gender pay gap, due its role in directly affecting wages, there is still unfair equity in benefits and bonus given out. Development countries like the UK, who practice collective bargaining, still have a sizable pay gap. Developing countries like Pacific place in Africa, where they do not rely on collective bargaining, have a gender pay gap as well. This show all They show that although collective bargaining may help, it is not the be-all and all the problem.
International Labor Organization. An integral part of collective bargaining is the ILO, International Labor Organization. The ILO contains international labor standards that ensure equity. The ILO supports governments to fulfill their international obligation to respect, to promote, and to realize the effective recognition of the right to collective bargaining, and to take measures to encourage the full development of machinery for voluntary negotiation. Technical assistance provided by the ILO, including advisory service and technical cooperation, helps employers and governments exercise their worker freedom and association and right to collective bargaining. The ILO states all member states accept an obligation to respect, promote, and realize the effective recognition of the right to collective bargaining. Therefore, the ILO is international so that not only the Western countries but developing countries as well can strive to get equal and fair treatment for their workers. Collective bargaining in America. Inland Boatmen's Union member processing will on strike to maintain equal and fair treatment for both employees and employers that 740 United States Congress created the National Labor Relations Act in 1035. They use a federal or national act to create a basic standard for everyone across America. The lack of a state-level law makes understanding collective bargaining law easier. However, a downside is there is a lack of specification. By centralizing labor relation laws means that a state is unable to amend the laws to better suit its people. In Canada, each province is given legal jurisdiction over their labor relation laws. Challenge of collective bargaining. During collective bargaining, unions and employers would have ways to shut down the organization if the bargaining is not resulting in the demands each party wants. A union has the option to go on strike and the organization or employer can use a lockout. Strike authorization votes are common to influence or threaten their employer in becoming more understanding, whereas lockouts have the same effect on unions. Both parties have extreme ways to influence and can result in costly shutdown for unions or employers. The Pullman strike was a major strike in America that cost the Pullman Company million lost revenue, however. Over $1 million was also lost in wages for workers on strike.
For your life.